All right, Jordan Hutchinson. First time on Serious and Silliness Bodybuilding. And make sure you like and subscribe and share because I'm bringing you like all kinds of great content, including future bodybuilding legend Jordan Hutchinson. What's up, Jordan?
I appreciate it, man. I like the sound of that. Future bodybuilding legend.
That's right. That's right. How
I
you doing?
appreciate
How's
it, man.
everything going? No problem, brother. I appreciate
It's
you coming
good.
on.
Yeah, man. Coming off of a big win for me. It was a top 5 at the Texas Pro. So jumping into an off season now, but it's been an awesome couple of weeks since that happened. I guess week and a half.
Yeah. Before we get to the Texas Pro, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Does anybody like recite lines to you from Wolf of Wall Street? Because your name is
Yeah,
Jordan.
I've definitely heard quite a few from Wolf of Wall Street. Would I remind you of somebody on there?
No, because your name is Jordan. So I immediately
Right.
think
I
of
know
his.
the main guy is Jordan. Yeah.
And I remember his father coming into the office and screaming at his son, like, Jordy, $430,000 for one fucking month, Jordy. I don't know if you remember that
I
scene.
do. I've seen it a couple of times, but it's been a while. I'll have to rewatch it. It's a
Great
good
movie.
movie. I do
Oh
like that one.
yeah. Anyway, you did Texas Pro, and you actually did really good in a relatively deep lineup.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the lineups that we've had recently, excluding basically the Arnold Classic, they haven't been really that deep. You might have had 1-2 quality guys, and that's about it. So you seem to make your mark in your pro debut because you came in 4th, right? So it was
I came in 5th. I had
5th.
4th. I had
5th.
4th at prejudging actually based on the scorecards. I had Lewis beat by 1 point, and we can talk more about the call we made, but made the wrong call on what to do between prejudging and finals and lost my place. But top 5 at that show was awesome for me.
It's phenomenal. It really is, because you got Andrew jacked. Hunter came in 2nd. Carlos Thomas Jr., the freak, comes in 3rd. What's his name? Lewis from the UK, who,
right.
I didn't know who he was until I was looking at his Instagram, and I was like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck is this
Tons
guy?
of muscle on that guy, dude. Tons of muscle, especially in person.
I can only imagine. And then you. So, what was when you went into that show? Obviously, you looked phenomenal. Your conditioning was great, but was the top 5 the goal?
Top 5 was like the dream. So it's funny. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. I've never been the guy that's like that Nick Walker type that's like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm coming to win. I've been that guy that's like, I don't want the pressure. I don't have anybody hyping me up. I wasn't, when I went pro, I wasn't the talk of, much online. I had some people posting me and stuff, but I ended up winning the overall at USA's to go pro. I didn't have any hype before that. I really didn't have much of any hype before this show. I wasn't in any talks of top 5. I think the only person that mentioned me was like the week of the show. Ian Valier mentioned me that he thought I would be in his top 5. But
the smaller YouTube channels mentioned you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm friendly with 2 other guys that do YouTube. One guy, his name is Kenson. He's the EP09. He talked about you, and then there's another guy,
cool,
Mark's Max Muscle. Yeah, there's a lot of bodybuilding channels. So obviously the biggest ones get the most exposure.
Right.
But yeah. The truth of the matter is, the smaller guys like myself, we're really the hardcore fan. And that guy Jensen,
right.
has his finger on the pulse. He's always talking about the guys just turning pro or about to turn pro.
Right. Right.
So believe me, among the hardcore fan, you're getting talked about.
Well, I appreciate it, man. That means a lot to me. I'll have to find those channels because, like the big ones, it's kind of like you may get a mention, but the whole time it was Andrew, Hunter, Carlos,
Yeah.
So I was going to, and Carlos he jumped in later. So my goal for the show was 2021. I had like when I went pro, me and my coach were like, all right, Texas Pro 2023. That's the goal. And I'm someone that I always stick to my commitments. And so I was like, I'm going to do it no matter who's in the show. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. And oh man, now Carlos is doing Texas instead of New York. And so I just keep the pressure off. So when, like you asked, going into it, I was like, I'm going to bring my best. I'm going to bring what I know I can bring, but I've never stood next to these kind of pros. So I don't know how I'm going to stack up, but I know I'm going to be peeled. I'm
Mhm.
always conditioned. Finals we weren't quite as tight, but I have that confidence, but I don't display it as like, oh yeah, I'm going to be top 5, you know. So it
Yeah.
was more that was my goal in my head internally, but I didn't make it an external goal to where everybody heard me say that prior to the show. I try to keep that stress off my shoulders, but after the show, I kind of gained a new confidence where I'm coming for a pro win next year, and I'm ready to actually sit and verbalize that.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
You said that you fourth in prejudging. What happened?
Yeah. So I talked to Tyler Mannion after the show. I
Mhm.
beat Lewis Breed by 1 point in the morning. And he said basically if I'd come back the same conditioning or more conditioned, I would have done better. But what we did was we saw me as a 4th place in the morning, which I was.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, Carlos is raging full, tons of muscle, right? But he wasn't that conditioned. I beat his conditioning by a
Right,
long shot.
right.
So I was like, well, if they're, obviously they've got him kind of, they pulled him in the first call out. They had him, split center in that next call out where they brought me up. And then, so we made the call to try to bring a fuller look and maybe sacrifice a little bit of conditioning. And Tyler told me that that's where I fell off. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I should have played to my strengths
Mhm.
because I can come in shrink wrap, dude. Like if you want me to be absolutely peeled out of my mind, I may be a little on the flat side because I'm not a super big guy, super filling out my frame, not bubbly like Carlos, but I can come in peeled. So it just was like not what the judges wanted. But
Mhm.
that stung a little bit because then I also had people after prejudging telling me, I don't know, dude. To me, it looks like you could be challenging Carlos. I'm like, there's no way. But it's what do you want? What does the person like? Because some people like that freak factor, but if we're talking conditioning, obviously I beat
Mhm.
Carlos on conditioning. So it's like it's a judge sport. It's what does that person want to see? So evidently they out of me, they wanted to see more conditioning. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, you certainly were conditioned. That's for sure. And I think a lot of people make that mistake where they go, well, I'm going to be against these big guys. I got to come in fuller, and they kind of sacrifice a
right.
little bit of conditioning. But the truth of
Yeah.
the matter is, I mean, from my experience, I mean, you're a pro. I was never even close, but conditioning always seems to, I mean, if you're a beast and you're conditioned, then it's lights out, right?
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't beat that. Like if Carlos
Yeah.
was spot on, nobody
Oh
was beating him.
gosh, he'd beat everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But seems like conditioning is really what they want. But
For sure.
and that plays to you. So obviously next year, I mean, the one good thing is that these are all learning curves. I mean, you just turned pro.
Exactly.
It's your first pro show. You did excellent in your first pro show. I mean, if you really think about it, like even Nick Walker, came in fourth in Chicago in his first pro show.
Right.
So you seem to be on your way. What what are you going to try to improve on your off season?
So I'm definitely going to take the judge's feedback, which Tyler remembered judging me at USA's when I won. And he congratulated me. He was basically like, what you did was awesome. You put size in all the right places. You distributed it evenly. You didn't blow any proportions out. Your waist is still tight. Your lines are still good. So they basically were saying, do that same thing. Like come back bigger with everything proportioned evenly.
Mhm.
A lot of the knock on my physique, they didn't mention it, but is generally my arms. So that's always my focal point. I have really long arms, so it takes a lot to fill them in.
Mhm.
So that's one of my focal points. But just in general, we're going to try to gain as much size in the next 6 to 9 months as we can. But we're definitely competing middle of the year, 2 shows in 2024. We're gonna start the growing process and then get a timeline once we hit next year. But
Oh,
we're
nice.
very excited and pretty confident that we can pull something off. So
How big did you get on your off season this year?
I pushed the highest I weighed was like low 290s. So it was like
Really?
290. I may have touched 292.
Mhm.
But generally, like I kind of marinated at that like 285 weight for a
Mhm.
long time.
Okay.
just hovered around above or below 285, which I mean, I pulled off 40 pounds, which is a lot of weight to pull off, but
It's amazing.
I hold a lot of weight in the off season. The prior off season, I think I got to like 275 and pulled down to 225 for USA's, which that was even more. That was 50 pounds. So
Right.
I won't get that high over stage weight this next time. It's just before USA's, I did a 3-year off season, and then I didn't do another show for 2 years after USA's, from USA's to Texas Pro. So we don't really do mini cuts. We're just always trying to steadily gain weight. So I got a little fluffy these last 2 times, but that's not going to happen this time because it's going to be too short of a period.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How much were you on stage at Texas?
That morning, like really flat and dry, I was 242, 241.8, I think.
And how
So
tall
by
are
the
you?
time I was on stage, 5'10", just under
Okay.
5'10". Yeah. So by the time I was filled out, I'm sure it was like 245. So
yeah, so you got plenty of room to grow. At 5'10", you're definitely going to be able to grow and fill out that frame. And what you're conditioning, that means, you know, you're going to be a threat. That's for sure. You're going to be a threat at any show. That's for sure.
I appreciate it, man. I'm
no
excited,
problem, bro. Who was the most impressive backstage at Texas?
I mean, obviously to see Andrew at that height with his aesthetics is impressive, but I just can't help but be so impressed by Hunter, because it's just in person. And then me and Hunter went and trained 2 days later at Destination, and he'd had a ton of food, and the dude was still just like these insane lines just everywhere that you don't see unless you're there in person. So to me, just the fullness and the roundness of the muscle and how much muscle is stacked on his frame, to me in person, is more impressive than Andrew jacked. It's just Andrew has that crazy, beautiful shape that you you can't train hard enough to get that. Like, he's just blessed with it, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, it's those Nigerian, those Nigerian genetics, man, between him and Samson, and then there's the other guy too. I forget his name. He hasn't competed this year. I forgot his name, but it doesn't matter.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's another dude. He competed last year. I think he's Canadian. He's in Canada now. I might be wrong. But when I did my wrap up, my review of the Texas Pro, I talked about how close it was between Hunter and Andrew, and I thought it was close, and apparently the judges did too. I mean, they had them going through, you know, pose after pose after pose after pose. And I kind of catch a lot of shit on my YouTube channel in comments saying it wasn't close. Andrew blew him out as soon as he went and walked on stage. But you were back there.
Yeah.
Was it that close?
I think it was very close. I think the only thing that really, I honestly, personally, my opinion, I think Hunter was ahead of him. And then as they kept posing, Hunter's posing conditioning wasn't. I think Andrew can get into his poses so comfortably.
Yes, yeah.
Which is also a matter of, he doesn't have as much muscle per how big his frame is compared to Hunter. Hunter has way more muscle on a smaller frame. Andrew, I think, can get into his poses and hold them easier. And because standing on the side there when they were doing the 2-man callouts, it really did look like Andrew was pretty relaxed.
Right.
You know, compared to Hunter. And I understand, because like, they posed them for forever, dude. Like, it was a long time. So I know I would have been sweating and breathing heavy. So I can't imagine Hunter at his weight. Like, he's got to be. But for whatever reason, Andrew seemed to. I mean, I know he practiced where I was told he did posing practice in a sauna.
Wow, really?
That's what I was told. That I don't know if Chris Aceto or Psycho Fitness, I don't know who suggested that to him.
Probably Psycho.
That's what I was told. So gosh, if you're used to posing in a sauna, you're not going to break a sweat on that stage, you know? So I really think that was the differentiator. And I think it was close. I honestly do, from being there in person. I think it was that the longer they posed them, how close it was, they really couldn't make a solid decision. Truthfully, I think that was the case. And then Hunter, I think, just couldn't keep up with the posing, but there was a lot of shots that Hunter really beat Andrew on, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I happen to agree the only weak point on Andrew that I could say, well, there's a couple of one, he's a little bit lanky, he can still fill out that frame, but his hamstrings and his glutes don't really tie in that well. And I think if he puts a little bit more muscle on, you'll be able to see it even better, which I'm sure he knows, and I'm sure Chris Aceto knows.
Right.
So yeah. No,
and his side shots, like his side leg, the way he hits his side shots, just his hamstring just doesn't drop,
Right.
Just looks a little thin in some of those shots, but how can you beat that front double with that kind of shape? It just
lights out. Yeah, it's lights out. So, he definitely worked on his posing, because the most impressive one to me was his side tricep.
Yeah,
because he was able to actually pull in that tricep, which gave the illusion that his arms weren't very lanky, and his tricep popped out.
Right.
And you still saw his abs and his quads and his shoulders. And
now, was that the one that he was turning the leg out for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, what's funny is, so that hides his hamstring where it doesn't look as good from the side.
There you go.
But what's funny is Tyler Mannion actually posted a video, and he said they don't like that.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a side shot.
Yeah. The side shot, not the transition of the side shot. Because, of course, guys will open up. I open up and hit that same shot because my quads are my strong point. So, but I hit the side tricep first and then turn out, So, yeah, but apparently they don't love that right off the bat. They want to see everybody on the side. So,
yeah, I can understand that. It is a side shot. I mean, you have, certain shots that you want to judge from the side, like, side tries and then, a side chest, of course.
Yeah, right.
Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up where I'm still living now, and I'm desperately trying to get out of here at ASAP. So we've been like totally convinced that Texas is where we're supposed to be. So I've already been convinced, and then the Texas Pro weekend was the first time my wife had been, and after that we're like, oh my gosh, we got to figure out how to break our lease and get there. But we're currently in Asheville, North Carolina, and that's where I grew up. It's changed drastically. Used to, it was like very small town feel. There was not all the overgrown stuff that's going on, and they've tried to keep it smaller. So the infrastructure here is like what it was supposed to be like 10 years ago, and tons of people have moved here. So it's unnecessary traffic, a bunch of people in a small place, and it's, I don't know, I'm just trying to get out of here. But that's where I grew up, and that's where I still live. So
is it since COVID people are moving? Because that's what it seems to be.
No, it's been it's been since long before that.
So it's just gradually.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the places that have more open laws are the places that everybody's gravitating to since COVID. And North Carolina, is specifically Asheville, is not. That is the opposite.
So okay.
Like, everything's shut down. Gyms are shut down. Everywhere's mandating masks. You can't walk around. All that stuff. But
yeah, believe me,
I'm talk about all that. But
yeah,
if that's to give you a picture of what Asheville's like. It's definitely like a very very condensed spot for people that are all for that, and I want to get to Texas.
Yeah, I don't blame you. A lot of people are going to Texas. I mean, I used to go to the same gym as Clarita, and
really,
so
as when he lived in New Jersey. Or
okay. Jersey, yeah.
Now my wife's from New Jersey.
Okay, I didn't grow up in New Jersey. I grew up in New York, but my wife is from New Jersey, and then we got married. I moved out here about 11, 12 years ago, some shit like that.
Okay, where are you?
Bloomfield, New Jersey.
Okay,
which is the town right next to Clarita. He was in Nutley.
Okay, gotcha.
And in that gym, they have a big portrait of him, and outside a big fucking picture of him that says 212 cool. Mr. Olympia. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, he was training at Destination when I was there.
He's a good dude. He's a good, really, really good guy. And his wife is ace, absolutely ace. She's a tremendous human being,
That's awesome, man.
So did you play any sports growing up, or what got you into bodybuilding?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was always into basketball from like age 4 till I graduated high school, but I'm just not the build for it. And I hated playing point guard. And I'm a shorter guy. I'm not one of the tall. I'm not tall for a basketball player. I'm taller for a bodybuilder.
That's
But
funny because I had Stanimal on and he loves basketball.
really,
Yeah, he
yeah,
said he played
yeah,
like in France and so on and so forth. He absolutely loves basketball.
really,
But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I was obsessed with it. I loved it, but it was like I wasn't disciplined with actually training for ball handling drills and stuff. I would always train my athleticism, so I was into training my vertical jump as high as I could get it. I got it up to like almost 40 inches.
Really?
And so, yeah, I was like 5'8", could dunk two hands in high school. Like, it was fun, but then I hated weight training, absolutely hated it. Like some of my
Really?
basketball buddies, yeah, up until 17. So my basketball friends would try to get me into the weight room. I'm like, guys, can we not just go play downstairs in the basketball court? Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to be up there. I hate lifting weights. And so I played one season of football my junior year. And then the football guys talked me into trying to lift with them and get me in the weight room. And I still remember to this day one of my soccer friends like watching him bench 135 for maybe 5 reps. And I was like, gosh, I'll never do that. Oh, it's so freaking heavy, man. How does he do that? And I was skinny. So then I started getting into it and I was like, whoa, I'm good at this. My body responds. Like, next thing you know, I gained like 30 pounds out of nowhere within 6 to 8 months of the newbie gains.
Right.
Was natty for years and like really got pretty big and really strong during that time. And then people started talking to me about how I had good genetics and should do a bodybuilding show. I'm like, I don't know if I want to step on stage in those trunks and stuff. It's just
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
kind of weird. I just love to train. And then I kept hearing it. I was like, whatever, I'll try it. And that was 2015. I did what was it? SNBF was the federation, one of the drug tested federations, and did that and did decently well. It's funny, the guy that beat me ended up being a classic IFBB pro at
Really?
one point. Yeah, and that was his first bodybuilding show ever too. And then after that, I was just hooked. So I just decided that it was my goal to eventually be a pro bodybuilder at that point, and then just kept rolling with it.
How old
So
were you when you turned pro?
I was 25. So
Oh, so you're a young dude. Okay.
yeah, so I'm 27 now.
Wow. You're
Yeah.
a young dude. What do you do besides bodybuilding to make a living? What actually do you do?
Well, actually, so I've been super blessed with my online coaching business has gone really well. I really don't even have to market it that much. It's a lot of it's been referrals. People really enjoy working with me. So I quit my regular job. I guess it was February 2022. So it's been a year and a half, and I just do online coaching. I do have a sponsorship, Condemned Labs.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
my supplement sponsor. That helps me out. And then uh and then I do some personal training and some posing coaching on the side and stuff like that. But pretty much it's my main source of income is coaching. So
What kind of job did you have before you quit?
it was a sales job. It was cell phone sales.
Jesus
And believe
Christ.
it or
Fuck.
not,
Fuck that shit.
believe it or not, it was actually really good money.
Really?
Yeah, but you had to be like one of the best guys. But like I actually crushed it at that job.
Let me ask you something. How come, if I've been with, like, say, Verizon, for example, for like, 10 years, and I go
Yeah,
in, I don't get any fucking breaks, but the guy walks in off the street and he goes, yeah, I want to fucking join Verizon. I'm leaving T-Mobile or whatever. And they give him all
right.
kinds of breaks. I've been that
Yeah, trust me,
no.
that annoyed me as the sales guy because
Man, I
I
fucking
can't
hate fucking cell phone
no.
people.
Well, see, the thing was, so it's this company called Cellular Sales, and they're like an authorized retailer for Verizon. So
Mhm.
we like have Verizon slapped on the building, but we're not actually Verizon. We're cellular sales, and it's 100% commission. So
Ah,
like everybody that walks in that door, it's my job to sell them something. So like they think they're coming in for help. I think I'm selling them something. It was so much stress, dude. Like I hated that job. I
yeah.
liked the money, but seriously, some of those guys, including myself, could make as much as like decent car salesmen. But yeah, as far as that goes, these cell phone companies, they don't care about who they currently have. They just want to convert people from other companies. So and I couldn't give a promote if I even wanted to give a promotion, I couldn't
Yeah.
to the loyal customer. I'm like, well, there's nothing available for you. But then, like you said, some rando that comes in would get all the great sales and promotions, and they get pissed off.
Fucking not you, but I fucking hate salespeople. Like when you
No, yeah,
pitch,
I know. I
when you
hated being a salesperson.
especially like New York salespeople are the fucking worst, man. It's
Well,
oh
because
my
they're really
god.
pushy too.
Oh, it's
They
just like,
don't
dude.
care.
And the thing is, it's like know your customer. Like you don't have to use the same strategy with everybody, right? So
Right.
if I walk in and you give me like one of those fucking sales pitches and I roll my eyes, like change the tune. You should know immediately
Right.
that I'm about to walk out.
Right.
But then
Exactly.
they still go and
They'll
they're like,
keep pushing, dude. They'll keep
yeah,
pushing.
yeah. Like
No,
I
I
just
wasn't,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I wasn't pushy. I had my own approach and it was a lot different than the other guys, but I mean, I'm just glad I got out of it because
So am
apparently it
I.
went so fast. Yeah, right.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. All right, so let's see. Good Vito is out for Italy.
Yeah. I heard about that. He can't get
Yeah,
a visa.
I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is.
I think it was a visa issue.
yeah, it's a visa
But
issue, but I don't know if it's because he lives in Brazil or if because he's Ukrainian or I don't know, Russian,
yeah,
whatever.
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
fucking know.
think he's Russian, yeah, and
He's
moved to
Russian.
Brazil. All the stuff that
Yeah,
happened with Russia.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
great.
now, do you think Regan is a shoo-in?
I don't know because Diosh is doing it.
Yeah, I know Nathan
I
Diaz is
don't know
doing
if he can get in really. We have no idea what he looks like. I don't know if he's in crazy shape or not. You know.
who Nathan?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
don't.
mean, I'm excited to see both of them because I know that that's their top two.
And that
But
blessing is doing it too, I believe.
yeah, and Blessing's coached by Cameron Cheek now, and Cameron gets guys in crazy shape.
Oh, that's good because that's what he needs.
He coached my wife for a bit because I told her we need to get Cameron. He's a great coach and he's becoming
Good.
one of the best coaches in the game. I really like Cameron.
Cameron, what's his last name?
Cameron Cheek.
Okay.
He's one of the Camp Jansen coaches now.
Ah,
He was working on his own, and then while he was working with my wife, he signed on with Camp Jansen.
mhm.
But apparently, he took Blessing on right after his last showing, which was Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I really think if Blessing does everything Cameron says, I have no doubt he'll get him in shape. He gets everybody in shape.
Well, he looks good.
Yeah, he does look really.
He's been and Blessing is the kind of guy that if he looks good, he's plastering it all over Instagram.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's
Well,
talking
and
shit and so
the thing is, Cameron has some way of like dieting clients where they eat heavy on their refeeds. So maybe it's a new way that he's doing it that Blessing hasn't done it before. Like I know a classic guy that's from South Carolina, close to here, and he did Texas Pro Classic,
Mhm.
and he switched coaches to Cameron halfway through his prep, and he started eating more food, doing less cardio. Next thing you know, he's getting like peeled,
Really?
and then like the week of the show, he was carving up on way more than I was. Like one of his meals was 700 grams of rice
What?
a meal.
I'm picturing Brad Pitt from Moneyball, right?
What Cameron?
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Do you remember that movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt?
Yeah, I don't think I watched that. I know what you're talking about though.
He's changing everything that baseball
Changing the
does.
game.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody's freaking out, like all those people under him are bugging, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
no, 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 we're changing always, and it's working. It starts to work, but everybody's like, what
Right.
the hell are you doing? Yeah, so that's what
No,
I'm.
I mean, this kid's 185 pounds, and one of his meals is 700 grams of rice. I'm like, dude, how are you getting that down?
Jesus
Like at
Christ,
your
yeah.
size. But I mean, whatever he does works really well. I mean, it really does.
All right.
Um,
So
my
Ken,
wife's refeeds were like over 700 grams of carbs on her refeed days.
what class is your wife in?
So she started a prep, and um she really wanted to just step on stage at a regional show, and figure was the original plan. Then they kind of decided she would do better in women's physique. She's got this crazy back, crazy
That's good.
shoulder. Um, but then he was kind of pushing her to go pro and wanted her to do junior nats. So he kept kind of like pushing her show back, and she just realized like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. This is not for me.
Good.
And
Good. I'm
so
glad.
she decided to
Yeah.
pull out of it and I'm glad too, because what it did was it allowed her to understand me more,
Mhm.
which I'm not hard to deal with in prep. I'm more just like brainless and my brain's elsewhere. I'm not like one of these jerk offs in prep where
Like me.
selfish and everything's about me, and I'm hangry and leave me alone and get mad at everything. I'm more of just like spacey. Like
That's good.
I she says something, I'm like, I'm sorry, I spaced out completely. But she's able to understand it better now that she's been through that process. She got really, really lean. She would have been able to do well at any regional show.
Yeah.
Probably win the overall at any regional show, but he wanted her to push for that junior nationals type conditioning. And she just realized, I just am miserable doing this. So this isn't for me, but this was a cool experience. So I'm
Yeah.
proud of her doing it.
I'm just looking at the time because I don't want to keep it too long.
No, man, I've got time. I've got time.
So she never actually competed then.
No, she didn't. She realized it just wasn't for her, which I was proud of her for understanding that and knowing that, because she was getting to like a place where she just really was so unhappy with her
Yeah.
life and
Listen,
everything and work.
competing is great. There's somebody like you who has the genetics and has the drive and is making a living doing it is great. But there are a huge community of people that compete, and it's like you're on a paradoxical treadmill. You're going nowhere
Right,
fast. And I'm not
right,
saying I'm not saying that that's your wife, but what I am saying is that if your quality of life isn't very good because you're trying to do something that you're unsure about, then just drop it.
exactly.
It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Right.
I mean, I always say I'm a better on the microphone than I am on stage because I was a shitty NPC bodybuilder. I love bodybuilding, but I knew what I was, and I knew I wasn't gonna fucking turn pro. So I just said, fuck it, I'm done. Right.
Well, there's the genetic aspect, and there's also the mindset and just preference aspect. Like she has the genetics 1,000%. I think she has way better genetics than I do.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like she touches a weight and she grows. Like her back and everything is nuts. Her proportions are great, but it's a matter of like what really makes you happy.
Right.
She loves to enjoy healthy foods. Like she eats tons of fruits and veggies, and she's very mindful of what she eats and stuff, but putting food on a scale every meal is exhausting to her, and that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, I love that. I'm so scheduled and regimented. It makes me feel grounded. Going to the gym every day or 5 days a week makes me feel like on my schedule, and I'm very OCD and I'm very type A.
Right.
So it helps me, like ever since I started it, my life has improved in tons of ways. But if you're a competitor and you start to see your life diminish and relationships fall apart, and oh, you lost your job, or everybody at your job's aggravated with you, like you got to rethink some things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
isn't for me mindset wise, even if it's for you genetically, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Two people
So
that compete and that are a couple or married or I don't know how. That's rough.
yeah,
That's rough.
Yeah,
Usually you
it
need one
was.
person. Usually you need one person and then like a helper.
Yeah,
You
right.
know.
I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was our preps overlapped, so it was crazy because we hadn't had a dinner date since December 4th, and our first dinner date was last weekend. So
Yeah.
it was from December to August. We didn't have any dates. Like there was a chunk of time where I was still having cheat meals by myself, and then my prep started, and then she got out of her prep, and then she was eating pizza next to me on the couch, which thankfully like food doesn't bother me, but she was like getting into baking and stuff like that makes her happy. So I was really glad to see her do all those kind of things. But it definitely is much easier when one person can focus on it and not both people be like
Right.
brain dead and prep brain and lack focus and everything. So it definitely, she's the best supporter. I couldn't do this nearly as good if I didn't have her, truly.
We were talking about this last night, me and Arns, and we were saying that your wife or girlfriend could either be an asset or a total liability. And if you have the
100%.
right, if you have the right woman, and you could almost see it, you could almost see in a guy's, in a man's progress if they have the like Samson Dowda,
Oh
who
gosh, yeah.
he has the best wife in the world.
Yeah,
Clarita, same thing. His wife
right.
is,
And they're just skyrocketing progress every year.
exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. And you could almost see it, and you could tell
Right.
that wife puts as much work as he does to help him get there. I mean, and that Phil Klahar is another one. I mean, I could,
Oh yeah. He's a good
yeah,
dude.
yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. And then once in a while you get those girls that, they just, they're manipulative, they target you, and
Terrible.
it just goes to
Oh
shit.
no, dude. And I mean, I've had situations where it just wasn't the right relationship around a prep. And
Yeah.
honestly, usually, well, I guess the couple times I haven't done that many shows, but the couple times that I was getting into a prep and the relationship wasn't working so well, it ended pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't mesh well. But dude, I'm so lucky to be one of those guys that has a super supportive wife that is a teammate. And I tell everybody, like our wins, like my wins are our wins together. Like she's just as much winning as I am.
Well,
So
that expression, right? For every great man, there's a great woman behind him, or whatever the fucking expression
absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the truth, man. But listen, Jordan, I'm gonna let you go, man, because I know it's 20 to 10 right now. But two things.
Appreciate it.
One, of course, thank you so much for coming on. And two,
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you if you want to come on Muscle Talk with me and Jason Ons next Wednesday. And basically, we just talk bodybuilding, whether it's a show or gossip or so on and so forth. But I got to warn you, we are pretty straightforward. So
Okay.
if you don't want to, like, we talked, like yesterday, we talked about Phil Heath's interview on Chris Williams' podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
And
haven't watched it yet.
yeah, it's fucking horrible.
I'm cool with like I'm cool with being straightforward and open now. There was a while where it's like I wouldn't talk about gear and stuff on podcasts,
No,
but
well, I'm not going to ask you about that out of respect. When I interview a bodybuilder, the one thing I'm not going to ask is about gear, because you're
yeah,
coming on my show. I'm a small podcaster in bodybuilding, and you're doing me a favor. I don't even,
right.
my channel's not even monetized yet. So out of respect, I'm not going to talk about juice, but
Okay. Well,
Phil did talk about juice, and then we just ripped him apart
yeah,
about the whole
really.
thing. Yeah, it was
Well,
fantastic.
I should be. I gotta check my schedule, but I should be available
Yeah,
next.
get back to me. Not a big deal, man. It's not a big deal, because
Yeah,
we're always
yeah.
looking for somebody to
But
come
yeah,
on and
man. I
join us.
mean, I appreciate talking to you. It's a good chat. So
Absolutely. All right, we're going to be in touch, and brother, listen, good luck to you, and I'm sure you're going to make tremendous gains. And much love and much respect always. Thank you again.
thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother. We'll talk
All right,
soon, man.
definitely have a good night.
All right, you too, man. Bye.